Hey, 2 videos in one day. I don't know if I've ever done that since I started my page. It'll be 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Oh my gosh. Hi, I'm meteorologist Cody Wilson with Denver and Front Range Weather. I put together a presentation for you guys so that I can streamline information and make sure we're all on the same page heading into tomorrow. It's been a long day. Donna, howdy. Florin, hello. There should be audio. Can you guys hear me okay? You guys can let me know in the comments real quick if you can hear me before I get started. Yes, stalking is there. Still there. There it is. Okay, you guys can hear me. Great. All right, 900 people on already. Let's see if we can't get this above 2,000 or 3,000. We've got a high impact winter storm that's going to be knocking on the door tomorrow. Every like, share, and comment pays your local neighborhood meteorologist. So I can't thank you guys enough for your love and support. And let's go ahead and get right into the skinny, shall we? I know you guys have questions, and hopefully I can answer some of those. So here we go. Let me go back. I actually have a lot of slides. Well, not a lot of slides. I think I only have 6. Okay, so here's my presentation for you guys. The major winter storm is incoming, and these are going to be my topics of discussion. We're going to talk about something called the deformation zone. I just sounded like I was Canadian. I think I'm starting to morph into Dan from Letterkenny. We're going to talk upslope. We're going to talk storm track. We're going to talk duration. We're going to talk potential impacts. And then we're going to talk about highest certainty versus highest uncertainty. So did the old PowerPoint presentation. I think this looks kind of cool. So let's dive into the dirty deeds, shall we? First thing I want to talk about is something called the deformation zone. For those of you that have followed my page for a while, I've talked about the deformation zone several times before with mid-latitude cyclones. And the deformation zone is an area of the storm on the north and west side where atmospheric stretching takes place. Think about the shape of a comma. So this essentially is the comma head of the storm, if you will. You've got a center of low pressure. You've got air that rotates about that axis of low pressure counterclockwise. And let's say, for example, the center of low pressure is moving east. Well, as air is wrapping counterclockwise around the center of low pressure, if you think about the physics behind this and the atmospheric dynamics, the deformation zone is actually going in the opposite direction. So you've got a low going one direction, you've got a deformation zone going the other direction. They're kind of playing tug of war with each other in the atmosphere. That is called the deformation zone, and it essentially causes atmospheric stretching, and it's kind of like wringing out a sponge. So we get enhanced precipitation rates underneath the deformation zone wherever it sets up, and that wherever the deformation zone sets up is determined purely on storm track. Okay. You might remember in 2021, remember the huge March blizzard we got in 2021? The deformation zone set up right over Cheyenne, and they got 3 feet of snur. So deformation zones have huge implications on weather forecasts, okay? So we need to pay very, very close attention over the next 24 to 30 hours to where exactly the deformation zone sets up, because whoever is underneath it, you're going to need a few corgis to measure some of that snur. Areas of the storm where the highest snowfall totals are going to take place underneath that deformation, especially above 6,000 feet. And then obviously I talked about the placement. The next thing I want to talk about is upslope. So we've seen a pretty interesting trend in the forecast models today. For those of you newbies that are not familiar with local climatology, upslope is when we get winds that blow towards a topographical feature like the foothills or the mountains. And that forces air to rise. So when you push a bunch of air up against the mountains, up against the Rockies, the only direction it can go is up. Okay. As the air ascends, it becomes too saturated, it becomes too heavy, and it loses its ability to retain water. I wish I had that problem. And it becomes too heavy. And then it offloads that precipitation to counter the physical forces of the upslope acting against it. So you get enhanced precipitation rates along the I-25 corridor and getting into the foothills because of this upslope flow. Okay. This is the 500 millibar chart I just pulled this afternoon. And what you're going to notice is that as you get above the ground and you ascend in the atmosphere, the wind barbs are directly out of the east. That's a huge development from yesterday, and I'll explain why in just a second. So in order to get these big, deep upslope snowfalls, you need a uniform column of air from the ground to at least 10 to 15,000 feet above ground level, where the wind is in one direction and it's coming directly out of the east. We're almost there. So, yeah, the upslope is definitely going to be in place if the forecast models verify. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is Storm Track. Hi, guys. People continue to hop on. We're at 2,500 people so far. That's freaking awesome. Okay. Storm Track. So there are two main pieces of energy that we're looking at and that we're talking about here. So this lead shortwave, which is going to start spreading snur into the mountains tonight and into the day tomorrow, Wednesday. This is originally had a much bigger influence on this storm yesterday. Today, not so much. So this leading shortwave that I have circled here in my red oval circle shape thingy is actually appearing weaker in the forecast models today than it was yesterday. This is really significant, and this is great news for snow lovers. The reason why is because this closed low right here is going to have a bigger influence on our weather than this shortwave. Originally, these two were kind of like juxtapositioning and trying to decide how they were going to phase together, if they were going to phase together at all. Today, because this is appearing weaker in the models, this is actually influencing the upper level winds in Colorado. So this is why we've seen an uptick in the precipitation amounts in the models today. And this is a reason why we've seen an uptick in the snowfall totals across most of the region. It's because the models are starting to catch on to the fact that this closed low, which is going to be centered somewhere around Lake Havasu on Thursday, is going to have a bigger impact on our weather than this shortwave is. So if the models continue in the direction that they're going, we're looking at a high impact major winter storm late tomorrow night through Thursday and into the day on Friday. So I hope everybody's with me so far. This is possibility, not certainty, but our confidence is increasing. Next slide is storm duration. It's going to begin in the mountains and along the I-80 corridor tonight, especially if you're west of Laramie. Okay, showers develop and spill off the foothills and will be scattered across I-25 in the Eastern Plains starting tomorrow morning and going into Wednesday afternoon. Okay, as the shortwave moves off the foothills and surface low pressure deepens in southeast Colorado, rain showers and thunderstorms are going to develop and become widespread Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night. So this is not going to start off as rain if you're at the lower elevation, Sorry, I'm tired. This is not going to start off as snur. This is going to start off as rain because it's going to be too warm. It's going to start as rain. There's going to be embedded thunderstorms. It's going to get spicy. We're not going to see anything severe. Depending on how strong some of the thunderstorms are, we may see some small hail. Oh, hey, look, we just cracked 3,000. That's awesome. But I don't think we're going to see anything severe. So tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night, if you're along portions of I-25 in the Eastern Plains, don't be surprised if you hear thunder and see lightning, because you can't have one without the other. And this all starts off as rain before it changes over to heavy wet snowfall overnight Wednesday and into the day on Thursday. Let's pull these slides back up. Let me get my ugly mug out of the way. Rain gradually changes over to wet snowfall overnight Wednesday and into early Thursday morning. The heaviest is going to be in the mountains, and that begins after midnight tonight. It's going to continue through Thursday and into the day on Friday. Okay. And then the heaviest snowfall for the foothills, the I-25 corridor, the Eastern Plains, Wyoming, and the Nebraska Panhandle will be after 5 p.m. tomorrow evening above 6,000 feet, and then after 8 to 10 o'clock tomorrow night below 6,000 feet. So homework, if you don't know your elevation, Google is free, okay? Again, I'll reiterate, heaviest snowfall for the foothills, the I-25 corridor, the Eastern Plains, Wyoming, the Nebraska Panhandle will be after 5 o'clock Wednesday if you're above 6,000 feet, and after 8 to 10 o'clock tomorrow night if you're below 6,000 feet, okay? And this is going to continue through the day on Thursday and into the day on Friday. Next slide, please. Potential impacts. This is where I want you guys to really start paying attention. For my folks that are circled in my red oval circle shape thingies. So if you're in the Denver metro, especially in the South Burbs, going on to the Palmer Divide, and if you're in the foothills west of I-25, especially between 6,000 and 9,000 feet, so that would include places like Bailey, Conifer, Evergreen, Genesee, Nederland, Estes Park, Red Feather Lakes, Woodland Park, Manitou Springs. Again, if you don't know your elevation, Google is free. Most of you should have compasses built into your phones by now anyway, but these locations I just highlighted, at and above 6,000 feet, you have a high probability of seeing down trees, down power lines, power outages, road closures, blowing and drifting snow, because the wind is going to be an issue with this as well. In fact, let me just highlight real quick. In order to get blizzard warnings, we need 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds and visibility of a quarter of a mile or less, and that needs to be sustained for 3 consecutive hours. Cool? The National Weather Service issues a various suite of winter weather products, and they have to meet certain criteria in order for the National Weather Service to issue them. A blizzard warning, we need 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds and a quarter-mile visibility or less for 3 consecutive hours in order. Wow, we're at 3,600. That's really cool. This might be the most I've ever had on a video. Yay, you guys are amazing. In order to get blizzard warnings. Will the National Weather Service upgrade in some spots? I don't know. But based on some of the snowfall totals I'm seeing in the models, wouldn't surprise me. There's still a fair amount of uncertainty, but everyone just needs to be prepared. Preparation, not panic. Let me say that again. Preparation, not panic. So how do you prepare for a storm like this? Well, it's heavy, wet snow. It's going to cake to everything. It's going to stick to, like I said, everything. So, if you've got trees that are budding, maybe go out every once in a while and knock the snow off the tree so it doesn't break your branches. Same thing with satellite dishes. If you can access it safely, clear the snow off your satellite dishes. So that you can keep your signal and just focus on what you have control over. Okay, maybe especially if you're in the foothills and along the Continental Divide, I would make sure you have food and water for a couple of days. This storm bears some resemblance to the storm that smacked us in 2003. And for those of you that were around when that one happened, that one was really spicy. I think Golden had 3 feet of snow in 2 days. My cousin was going to school at the Colorado School of Mines at the time, was getting an engineering degree. Her name is April. And I remember her sending us pictures of how bad it was. So, um, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this to prepare you. There's a very real threat that some of you are going to be stranded for a couple of days, and you just need to be prepared. And you sure as hell shouldn't be traveling through this crap, especially starting tomorrow night. Thursday, if you have plans, no, you don't. I would even extend that into Friday if you have the ability to, and some of you don't. Everybody's an essential worker. I get that. But for those of you that do not have a choice, I'm talking about the medical field, our wonderful workers that work with the power companies, um, law enforcement. I mean, those are just some of the people that don't have a choice and have to work. Please be very careful. Have a plan in place. Pack an emergency kit in your car. God forbid you get stranded somewhere, knock on wood. But if you do, you are prepared. Okay. And tell someone where you're, oh, we just cracked 4,000. Amazing. And tell somebody where you're going. That's the biggest thing. Tell someone where you're going and what route you're taking. I remember Bomb Cyclone 5 years ago. The National Guard had to rescue over 1,000 people from their vehicles. So, it's not like this has never happened in Colorado before. It certainly has, but there's so many newbies that have moved here from out of state. You've never experienced anything like this before. So now is not the time to panic. Now is the time to prepare and make sure that you have essentials. And I would start making plans right now. Don't wait. Make plans right now. So let's go back to the slides. So I mentioned down trees, down power lines, power outages, road closures, blowing and drifting snow. Let's go to the next slide, teacher. Highest certainty versus uncertainty. So let me turn the banner off real quick so I'm not hiding anything. So the highest certainty, obviously, foothills west of I-25, between 6,000 feet and 9,000 feet. Continental Divide, mountains, Palmer Divide. I think you guys are going to get nuked with snowfall. Medium certainty, and again, this is going to depend on where that deformation zone I talked to you guys about sets up. And that all is dependent on storm track. Cheyenne Ridge, Raton Mesa, medium certainty right now, and then obviously low certainty with the Northern Front Range, particularly in Larimer and Weld County. So Loveland, Fort Collins, Greeley, Longmont, low certainty there. And that's because of downsloping. I'll show you that here in just a second. Pueblo County, the donut hole. Unique and fascinating topography there in Pueblo County. You're coming down from Colorado Springs into Pueblo County, and then you pass Pueblo going to Colorado City and Walsenburg, and you come back up out of the donut hole. So really, outside of some crazy microscale meteorology, the best wind direction you want in Pueblo County, if you want heavy snowfall, is directly out of the east. And then obviously northeast Colorado, western Nebraska panhandle. Panhandle. This is going to be highly contingent on storm track. So I want to pull up real quick, or actually we don't have to do that. So let's look at this snowfall map. I know a lot of you can't see it. I'm sorry. Let me see. Bear with me. If I can pull this up or at least make it larger. That's what she said. Okay, let me refresh this real quick. Let me see if I can zoom in so that we can see, or maybe not. I hope you guys are having a great night. I appreciate you guys all tuning in and making me a part of your evening. Okay, maybe get to some comments here while I'm waiting for this to load. I want to see a thick map. So do I. So do I. Okay. Hang in there. I'm almost done, guys. I'm almost done. I want to explain the downsloping part of this because part of the education with this is making sure you guys are prepared and not surprised, right? Education destroys apathy. And the problem we've had with deterministic forecasting in apps in the past is they give you a forecast and don't give you any context. They don't explain why, and they just give you a number or they give you a range and there's no context or explanation behind it whatsoever. And then when it's wrong, which with apps is 60 to 70% of the time, and then with deterministic forecasts, because there's a lot of limitations with the broadcast media as far as getting information out to you. A lot of that's changed and evolved with social media, which is a good thing. But a lot of the deterministic forecast came with no explanation, no science behind anything. So nobody really incorporated scenarios and probabilities, and that's really been the hearthstone or um, one of the linchpins behind the growth behind my page is the honesty and transparency that you guys should have been getting a long time ago, but we're never really getting until recently. So let me share my screen. I'll explain the downsloping and then I'll stop talking. Okay, there we that's not much better. Okay, I'll do my best here. So if you're in northern Colorado, so below 6,000 feet, so Fort Collins, Loveland, Longmont, Greeley, getting up the I-76 corridor, the winds overnight Wednesday and into Thursday are going to really start cranking out of the north. Okay. And a northerly wind off of the Cheyenne Ridge is a downsloping wind. Downsloping is when you take wind or air and you push it off of a higher elevation or a mountain. I just had a really dirty thought in my head and I almost had a stroke. So I'm trying to keep this PG. Um, Pushing air off of a higher elevation down onto a lower plane or into a valley. That air compresses, it warms up, and it dries out. So if the deformation zone I talked about earlier sets up over the Denver Metro, the Palmer Divide in northern Colorado and southeast Wyoming, a lot of that snur, that rain and snur that falls here in Fort Collins, Loveland, Greeley, going up the I-76 corridor is going to be fighting a lot of downsloping. Okay. So we may get some snow here. I'm not saying we're not going to. We may very well get some snow up here, but it's going to be fighting northerly downsloping winds off the Cheyenne Ridge. So the question is, which one wins? Does the northerly downsloping winds win, or does the deformation zone win, or do they kind of like fall somewhere in a happy medium and we get some accumulation like a 2 to 6 or 2 to 8 inch range here for portions of Larimer and Weld County below 6,000 feet if you're not in the foothills. Um, Pueblo Donut Hole, confidence there is higher. I think that northerly downsloping winds off of the Palmer Ridge are going to keep snowfall totals down there to a minimum. I want to say I'm going to be surprised. I don't think I'm going to here in the Pueblo Donut Hole. That is unless the storm dramatically changes in track overnight and into the day on Wednesday. But regardless, I'll keep you guys updated. Just start making preparations now, and we'll wait and see what happens. This video is going to take place of my update tomorrow. Mernon, I know a lot of you look forward to my updates in the Mernon. I may try and put something really simple together just so you guys do have something to read in the morning, but it's not going to be very in depth. Just something to start your day, and then I'll just continue to update you guys like I did today throughout the day before the storm really gets cranking, and then I'll just go into now casting mode. But thank you guys so much for your time, energy, and attention. Thank you to all of you who donated to me as well. That means more to me than you'll ever know. And then, of course, to all you newbies, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for the comments. And I hope I've made this fun and educational for you. And then, of course, the last thing I'll mention before I let you go is I am able to do this full time because of the gracious support of amazing local businesses. I have a ton of local businesses here in Colorado that support me financially, and it's because of their incredible support that I'm able to do this full time. And because of their support, you guys get access to this absolutely free. I will always be of the mantra support local. So any business sponsor you find that supports my weather page will always be a locally owned and operated business. So, with that being said, if you can in any capacity, whether it's going on and liking their Facebook page or their Instagram page, or maybe you need some of their services and just didn't know they existed, go onto my website, codytheweatherguy.com, and click on the Colorado Sponsors tab, which is right there. And you can go through the entire list of sponsors I have on my page. And as always, support local. Cool. That's all I got. This is going to be fun, stressful for me, but fun for you guys. Have a great night. Be safe, stay healthy, take care of each other. Don't be dum dums. We'll talk in the morning. Great, thanks. Bye.